One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, you should go to every town and village. You should go and knock at every door. And you should meet with every person whom you see and instruct them to chant the names of Krishna. So Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, they left, taking this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on their head. And Nityananda Prabhu used to go and knock at every door. Door after door after door. He would knock at the door and the person would come out. And Nityananda Prabhu used to fall at their feet and say, please chant the name of Krishna. Please chant the name of Krishna. Please worship Krishna. Please spread the glories of Krishna. Krishna is your mother. Krishna is your father. Krishna is the treasure of your heart. Serve Krishna, surrender to Krishna, and make your life sublime and successful. But then there were some owners and some people behind the doors who were envious, who were lusty, who were puffed up nonsense people. They were totally envious because they never got an entrance into the Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the house of Srivas. So when Nityananda Prabhu used to approach, they used to criticize him, swear filthy words at him, blaspheme him. Some of them used to kick him. Some of them used to whip him. Some of them used to beat and use their fists to punch him. And this most merciful Nityananda Prabhu used to fall on his hands and knees, and with 5 streams of tears down his eyes, wetting his cheeks, used to fall and roll at the dust of their lotus feet, telling them, I, Nityananda, is ready to sell myself as your eternal slave only if you chant the name of Krishna. This is the only alms that I am asking for. As he was preaching, there was a big crowd gathering in the middle. And there's so many people. And Haridas and Nityananda, who were preaching partners, they came together and they said, what is this? What is going on? So some villagers said, oh, look inside. Inside that crowd are 2 dacoits by the name Jagai and Madhai. What were their names? Yes, Jagai and Madhai. And another villager added, do you know who they are? Previously, they were pious Brahmanas, born in Brahmin families. But because of bad association, now they slaughter animals, they eat their flesh, drink their blood, they set houses to fire, they kill babies, they spoil sacrificial fire by dropping abominable substances into it. They are always intoxicated with liquor. And they have all sorts of illicit sexual relations. There is nobody more filthy and fallen than these 2. Now they are famous as being the dacoits in Navadvip by the name Jagai and Madhai. And nobody goes close to them because they can murder you. As soon as Nityananda Prabhu, the embodiment of compassion, heard this, his eyes went wide. It just dilated. And in total ecstatic love, he said, they are the recipients of Gauranga's mercy. He told Haridas, do you see this? Only if they become devotees, the whole of Navadvip will recognize Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the deliverer of the most fallen. Oh Haridas, now people hate them. Even if they step on their shadow, they jump into the Ganga to purify themselves. But if we can simply make them devotees, people in this whole village will come and take their darshan as if they are Ganga personified. Oh Haridas, do you remember when the Mughals were whipping you in 22 marketplaces? You were the one who prayed for them. Please pray, oh Haridas, that these 2 dacoits, Jagai and Madhai, let them become the recipients of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Haridas Thakur smiled and he said, "Oh Nityananda, you're so merciful. Simply by your thought, they are delivered. Now just the formality is left. They are already delivered because you decided to deliver them." And they approached. Nityananda and Haridas, taking one step at a time, they approached these two drunkards. And how were they? They were intoxicated. Eyes rolling in intoxication. Torn clothes. They were pulling each other's hair. They had blood all over their face. And they were having meat in their hand. And liquor bottle. And laughing. And sometimes crying. And sometimes punching each other. Sometimes kicking each other. Sometimes singing songs. Sometimes rolling on the ground. Total material intoxicated madness. So Nityananda Prabhu approached both of them. He said, "Dear brothers, we have heard of your unlimited glories. We know how great you are. You're born in Brahminical families. You're worshipable to everyone. But I just have one request. Dante nidaya trinakam padayor nipatya kakushatam kritva cha aham bhavimi he sadava sakalameva vihaya dhurat Chaitanya Chandra Charane Kurutanuraga." My only request, O Jagadananda and Madhavananda, after knowing all your glories, is that give up your nonsense and surrender to Chaitanya. Please worship Krishna, chant the names of Krishna. O Jagai and Madhai, why are you living this sinful life? Don't you fear the reactions? You will be destroyed by these reactions. Please worship Krishna. Now is still, there is still time. Please rectify and worship Krishna. And these two semi-intoxicated or partial or complete intoxicated drunkards, they were looking at each other and with eyes rolling and hot like coal, with mouths spitting fire, they said, "How dare you advise me? Don't you know how great I am? And you still come and you counsel me? Catch them, kill them." And Jagai and Madhai started running behind Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas as if to take their life. And Nityananda and Haridas, they started running. And Jagai and Madhai started running. And Haridas started running. And Nityananda started running. And they were laughing. This was like an adventure for Nityananda and Haridas. Because never had they approached somebody so dangerous. And Jagai and Madhai were running. And while running, Haridas Thakur said, "You're a madman, Nityananda. You're a madman. How merciful can anybody be? You go to drunkards and you give them Krishna prema. You're impossible."
The reality is Nitai Karana, and anyone who is servant of Nitai, so Nitai Karana Tattva Tara Sivaka Nitya. One who has become the dog of Nityananda Prabhu, he gets his eternal life.
That evening, Nityananda Prabhu exactly went to the lane where Jagai and Madhai were shouting. They were again in their semi-clad, ill-clad, semi-drunk, intoxicated situation with filthy words filling their mouth and eyes rolling in total intoxication. Nityananda Prabhu went close to them and said, "Jagai and Madhai, please understand, I beg you at your feet. You are part and parcel of Krishna. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. And the only way the soul can be happy is by reconnecting with Krishna. You cannot find happiness in this world. Please reconnect to Krishna and chant His holy names." As soon as Nityananda Prabhu said this, Madhai lost his cool. He was drinking liquor from a half-broken clay pot. And as soon as he heard Nityananda Prabhu's preaching for the second time, he lost his cool. It is described, when you give milk to the snake, all that happens is its poison increases. Nityananda Prabhu was giving the most eternal instruction as the ever well-wishing friend, and Madhai took that half-broken liquor clay pot and smashed on the forehead of Nityananda. And that Nityananda, whose body is completely transcendental, who's beyond the three modes, he who's the source of all sources, he who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was falling on his hands and legs begging out of mercy, he started bleeding profusely. There was blood all over his face. There was cut all over his face, just above his eyebrow, and it was drenching his clothes. Madhai looked at Nityananda, and Nityananda smiled looking at Madhai, and he said something very interesting. He said, the pain that you're inflicting on yourself by not being Krishna conscious is way more than the pain that you've just inflicted on me. Oh Madhai, I again fall at your feet. Please take to this process of chanting. And Madhai lost his cool again, and he picked up another pot. How dare you? You continue preaching, you nonsense? And Jagai, his heart melted. He stopped Madhai and he said, don't you see? Don't you see? He's so merciful. There's no saint, there's no renunciant ever who has approached us like this. And you slam him, you hit him, and he still continues to smile and lovingly, compassionately help you. Please, Madhai, don't hit him. He's our friend. Madhai fell at the feet of Nityananda, and in the first go, Nityananda smiled and he picked him up and he said, promise me that you will never sin again. Because you never committed Vaishnava aparad, because you never met Vaishnavas, and you never committed Nam aparad, because you never chanted the holy name, I forgive you. And this Jagai and Madhai, in the association of devotees, in their assembly, started jumping and dancing and chanting the holy name.